Hey everyone, and welcome back to my completionist playthrough of Diablo 2 on Hardcore. So, now that we've progressed to Act 3, we'll have some new surroundings to survey, but before we set out to explore the jungles of Kyrgyzstan and what remains of Kurast, as always on normal, I'm going to first talk to the townspeople and listen to what they have to say about the situation. However, as usual, there's going to be a timestamp on the screen if you want to fast forward straight to the gameplay. So first, let's talk to Ratley, one of the leaders of the survivors here.
Welcome to Kurast, young sorceress. Few come willingly to this ancient city anymore. I hope you brought your wits with you, for sanity is in short supply here. My name is Ratley. I am a sorcerer skilled in metalwork. It'd be a pleasure to help you. I don't have many customers these days. Though my own magic is only useful for making enchanted weapons, I'll bet yours will put an end to this terrible evil once and for all. May the spirits of Skatzim watch over and protect you. As you can see, the populace has been brutally decimated by the forces of Mephisto. The canals run red with blood, and demons roam the land. The wretched jungle hell has already reclaimed much of Kurast. The only safety you'll find is here at the dockside, where a magical warding holds the jungle evils at bay. But I don't know how long it will last. To make matters worse, the children of Zakharum are in league with the forces of Mephisto. The Zakharum have concentrated their power in the temple city of Travancore, located within Kurast deep in the jungle wilderness. It's true, their zeal is unmatched, but I say the so-called warriors of light are nothing more than the twisted puppets of a hidden hand.
So yeah, it seems that the influence of Mephisto, our main villain in this act, runs deep, and he has managed to corrupt even the priesthood of Zakharum. We also have Meshiv here, who's going to be very distraught seeing his homeland in such a state.
Well, I gave you my word and brought you here as promised. But by all that's still holy, I wish I'd never returned to this accursed place. This fetid jungle can't be the fair Kurast I left behind. I don't know what all this evil is, my friend, but it's obvious that you must stop it. I only pray that you can before the jungle consumes the last vestiges of my beloved homeland.
Yeah, it is definitely not an easy experience for him. Anyway, we're going to already get rid of these small mana potions. We're going to unlock a higher type of them in just a moment after we speak to Ormus.
You now speak to Ormus. He was once a great mage, but now lives like a rat in a sinking vessel. You have questions for Ormus, and doubt in yourself. Ormus sees a strange dichotomy in you, as he does in all would-be heroes. Speak to him, and he may grant you wisdom in turn, or turn from him and seek wisdom in thyself.
I've always liked that intro, but of course we're most interested in these mana potions. We're not going to need the light mana ones, but we're going to buy ourselves a nice supply of the better ones, and also restock our scrolls of Town Portal. But anyway, now let's see what Kane has to say.
I've not set foot in glorious Kurast for many years, but I never would have imagined it could be so corrupted. Certainly this must be Mephisto's work. You'd best get going, my friend. Diablo and Baal are still out there, and you must find them.
Yeah, we're going to get to it very soon, after we talk to a few more people, like Natalia here.
Greetings, hero. I've heard of your exploits and, I'm quite impressed. Very few mortals are capable of dealing with the three and their minions as you have. My name is Natalia. I am a hunter of evil, part of an ancient order sworn to hunt down corrupted sorcerers. If I could, I would gladly join your quest to stop the three, but I must wait here for further news. I can't predict what will happen, but the danger is greater than we can know. Until I receive my orders, I'll assist you with the information I have.
Yeah, she's an interesting character. She's an assassin and a member of the Order of Mage Slayers, the Viz Juktar, an organization the Vizheri themselves created to deal with rogue mages within their own ranks. And it's not stated directly, although it is hinted at in one of her gossips, that she's in Kuras to keep an eye on Ormus, and I guess deal with him if he succumbs to Mephisto's evil influence. And of course she also has an item set named after her. But now we're going to talk to a different type of lady, the leader of the Act 3 mercenaries here.
Hello there. You must be a great adventurer to risk coming here. My name's Ashira, and I lead the mercenary band of mages known as the Iron Wolves. We've been hunting down demons in the jungle for months, but no matter how many of them we kill, they just keep coming. Seems this whole place has been overrun by evil. Rumor has it that you've come here to help. If that's true, then I'll let you hire some of my mercenaries. But be careful. If you piss them off, they can be worse than those monsters out in the jungle.
And yeah, these Iron Wolves, they look almost exactly as the mage from Diablo 1, if you suited him up in the heaviest set of armor. And they are mage mercenaries that generally keep their distance from the enemies, and they can cast 2 offensive spells of either cold, fire, or lightning variety, and the cold mercenaries are generally the most useful, and they also can cast frozen armor, and they can be useful for some special assignments when it comes to some builds needing a particular type of elemental damage, but they're not going to be too useful for us. Anyway, and now it is time to present the star of this act, my main man, Alcor.
Damn it, I wish you people would just leave me alone. Oh, you're new here, aren't you? I am Alcor the Alchemist. I dabble in potions and salves, and I can sell you some if you really need them. But don't make a habit of coming here. I don't like to be disturbed while I'm studying.
Leave me alone. I love this guy, and he's much nicer if you play a Necromancer. Then he says that you can drop by anytime. But anyway, of course, so far I haven't really engaged in these gossips with any of the townspeople, but I am going to make an exception for Alcor because he has so many funny lines to say, and so many funny opinions to share about the other townspeople. Basically, almost every gossip that he says is really good, so let's try out what he has in store for us this time.
I have never claimed that you'd live forever after trying one of my potions, merely that you might look as though you had.
And yeah, every time we visit his shack, I am going to try to remember to ask him about some of his opinions. But anyway, now we're done with all of the townspeople. We don't have any quests to start out with, but they are going to show up very soon as we start adventuring here in the jungle. And who do we have here? A Dark Wanderer? Could it be that this is Diablo himself? And we're right on his tail? No. Just some type of trickery. And yeah, anyway, these jungle maps here are pretty specific. They can be very long and windy. We're going to have to follow the river, kind of. And in these areas there are going to be 3 pockets, as I like to call them, kind of side areas that are going to contain some places of interest. Well, out of the 3 pockets, one is going to be empty, one is going to have the waypoint and a side dungeon, and the last one is going to have a quest dungeon that we're going to have to visit. And here, of course, we meet a lot of the flayers that have made a very brief appearance in the catacombs in Act 1, but of course this is the act where they are going to be featured very prominently. And one of the first special groups is going to drop us a certain figurine. Here it is, the Jade figurine. And this is going to be a start of the first quest here. Let me just clear out the area a little bit here so that the Sorceress can say her line in peace. And I'm not going to activate this experience shrine just yet. I'm going to do that after we come back from town, because now that we are going to have this Jade figurine, a lot of the townspeople are going to kind of open up to us and say way more than they have so far.
I don't sense any magic about this item. Very strange.
Well, not every simple item has to be magical, Sorcy. It's just a simple figurine. But anyway, we can ask Kane about it.
Back in Lutgolane, Meshif told me he had a fondness for jade figurines. On his trading voyages, he collected an odd assortment of such small statues. I would show him your figurine.
Yeah, show him your figurine. Well, that can be interpreted in more than one way. But anyway, let's talk to Meshiv then.
Praise you. That jade figurine will complete the set I was collecting. Here, I've had this statuette of a golden bird for years, but I consider it a fair exchange.
And this golden bird statuette that we now have here is way more than it seems, and Kane is going to share some insight about it.
I've read legends about a sage named Kuile, who studied the mysteries of life beyond death. If I remember correctly, his ashes were ensconced within a golden statuette. It was a very strange tale.
Yeah, this apparently sounds like something Alcor would be interested in. The ashes of Kuile.
The golden bird of Kuile? Thank you, my friend. Busy yourself while I experiment with the ashes within it. Then return and see what I have made for you. From the ashes of Kuile, I have mixed for you a potion.
A very, very useful potion that is going to give us 20 life, just like that. And it might not be that impressive amount for a barbarian, for example, but for a sorceress, that's very nice. Our life is going to go up to 240 from 220, and if we do this quest on all 3 difficulties, that's 60 life for free, essentially. But anyway, since we have Alcor here, let's see if he can share something interesting.
I have never claimed that you'd live forever.
Oh, that's the same thing. Anyway, perhaps the next time we visit him, we're going to have more luck. He has a very bomb gossip to say about Natalia, for example. But anyway, also Kane should remind us to never forget.
Never forget that your ultimate purpose here in Kurast is to destroy Mephisto. The ancient Horodrim imprisoned the Lord of Hatred inside the Guardian Tower that is located within the temple city of Travancore. Know this, friend. The only way to gain entry to Mephisto's prison is to destroy the artifact known as the Compelling Orb. Mephisto used this device to control the Zakarum priests and their followers. The orb can only be destroyed with an ancient flail imbued with the spirit of the one incorruptible priest. Soon after his imprisonment, Mephisto worked his evil corruption on the Zakarum priesthood. All were turned to his dark ways, save one, Kalim, the K-Hagen of the High Council. Mephisto directed the other council priests to slay and dismember Kalim, and then scatter his remains across the kingdom. The priest Sankakur succeeded Kalim as K-Hagen, eventually becoming the embodiment of Mephisto here on the mortal plane. The corrupted High Council fashioned an orb to control the rest of the Zakarum faithful, and used their powers to hide the lair of their master from mortals. Your task is to collect the scattered relics of Kalim, his heart, his brain, and his eye. Then, using the Horodric Cube, transmute Kalim's flail with his relics. Once this is accomplished, you must destroy the Compelling Orb with Kalim's will to open the way into the corrupt sanctum of Mephisto.
Yeah, so now we have our main quest here. Well, the Golden Bird is finished, but our main quest to assemble that holy Kalim's will flail that is going to open the way to the Durance of Hate, where Mephisto resides. We're of course going to have to, similarly to Act 2, gather a couple of components and then transmute them using the Horodric Cube. And we also kind of get the information that the 3 prime evils have actually possessed some quite prominent characters, quite prominent, powerful mortals. Like Baal resides in Tal Rasha, then Mephisto took possession of Sankakur, a powerful priest of Zakarum, and Diablo, of course, so far has the possessed warrior from Diablo 1 as his mortal form for now. Anyway, 6,000 for this armor, and this ring is actually quite nice. We are going to switch it out for this one, the fire resist 7% one. We can just get, you know, some mana and lightning resist on this ring, and this one is just has such an insignificant amount of resistance that I'm just going to sell it right away. And I think with the loss of some fire resistance now, I think I'm going to assemble the second cap that we have here, and we are going to put 2 RAL runes into it, giving us 30% fire resistance. Now that we are at level 19, we are going to be able to get the benefits of that, and just from one item 60% fire resistance is very welcome, even though of course this is a little overkill because we have had some fire resistance already active on us, but this cap is going to be useful of course in case we switch around some of our gear, and later on in the higher difficulty levels where our resistances are going to be lowered, it's also going to be useful to have such an item in our possession. Oh, and also before we get back to adventuring now, Ratley is going to have a start for another quest, something that you basically never listen to. You just encounter that quest while adventuring, but you know, of course we're trying to follow the story here for the first time on normal as it is kind of supposed to unfold. So let's talk to Ratley and get the official start of another quest.
As I told you before, I placed an enchantment upon the dark side in order to keep the demons at bay. But lately, the enchantment seems to be weakening. If memory serves me correctly, there is a holy Skatsimi blade that could revitalize the enchantment. The blade is called the Gidbin. Find it, and our sanctuary here will remain safe.
Yeah, so now we also have to search for the Gidbin in the Flare jungle. We are going to get to that soon. Alright, and now finally we can get back to adventuring and visit those kind of side areas, those pockets as I call them, and see what they can offer us here. I am going to take things a little easy here, a little slower. Alright, that's the side dungeon, the Arachnid Lair, that we're going to explore on Nightmare. That's the first pocket with the waypoint. We already have that part of our objective done. But yeah, I was about to say that I am going to take things a little slower here in Act 3. Not necessarily to try to resist my reckless behavior impulses. It's not going to come that easy, I'm afraid. But also because we are going to have to get some experience in Act 3. We're going to have to stay here and farm a couple of levels anyway. So if we have the opportunity now to get some experience already along the way, I am going to take it. Especially since the flayers are very nice for such purposes. They are quite experience-rich monsters that are generally plentiful and easy enough to kill. So they are really fit for the purpose of farming some experience. Alright, that's the Spider Cavern. That's our quest dungeon that we have to visit. So let's go right on in. And here, I'm not going to be recklessly teleporting either, because the super unique inside here, Sharky, Zark the Burning, has a very nasty ability combo. He is extra strong and cursed, so I don't want to teleport right into the group of these spiders and then just get completely destroyed with their attacks. Alright, there's the chest. I think we have to go around here. Oh yeah, there's the group in question. I'll try to highlight Sharky. Oh yeah, he's hiding down there. He's a little shy. Yeah, these spiders are a little hard to predict sometimes. Sometimes they are kind of passive, and sometimes they kind of come in charging at you. Is that Hawkmail?
I can't carry anymore.
Yeah, the notable armor for the Cannot Be Frozen property. It's quite a nice armor for some classes. Basically, when it comes to the Cannot Be Frozen property, let's maybe address that. When we're kind of seeing that that property for the first time. Its name is a little unfortunate, because as players we cannot be frozen. We have seen creatures being frozen as a result of them hitting us when we have the frozen armor active. That just kind of, you know, freezes them in place for a moment and they can't do anything. As players, that cannot happen to us. We can only get chilled so kind of slowed down by cold damage and cold spells. And the cannot be frozen property makes it impossible for cold damage and spells to slow us down in that way. And that slows down our movement speed and our attack speed, but not our casting speed. For that reason, being chilled is not so problematic for a sorceress. It's not really a top priority to get an item like that with cannot be frozen, as it is for melee characters, for example, where it's absolutely one of their top priorities to have something like that. The Ravenfrost Ring or Hawkmail or the Rhyme Shield, they all have the cannot be frozen property. It's really nice for characters that actually use their sword arm, I guess. But you know, the sorceress moves through teleport a lot anyway, and casting speed is not slowed down when you're chilled, so it's not that big of a deal. Of course, it is a little annoying when you're chilled, but it's not anything that's, you know, is that important to kind of gear for. Right, here we have already discovered the Flare Jungle, and we have experienced what it's called the Flare Skip or the Marsh Skip. Basically, the areas here in Act 3 are set up in such a way that sometimes you have to go through the Great Marsh in order to reach the Flare Jungle, and sometimes the Spider Forest and the Flare Jungle are directly connected. And we're just, you know, experiencing that. But of course, unfortunately for us, our objective about flagging the waypoints is going to force us to always find the Great Marsh. Something that you normally don't want to see. You know, normally, under normal circumstances, you would be very happy to see the direct connection between the Spider Forest and the Flare Jungle. Because, you know, like I said, you never really want to go through the Great Marsh. It's an area that's not really important for anything. It can contain some gold chests, but other than that, it's quite empty. And it can be potentially quite dangerous, because gloams can spawn there, and gloams are extremely dangerous opponents, especially on higher difficulty levels, not necessarily on normal, especially with our decent lightning resistance. Even if we get some gloams, they shouldn't be too dangerous, but on higher difficulty levels, especially on Hell, they can deal an insane amount of damage, and they can also go invisible and kind of sneak up on you. And yeah, and this is the empty pocket. So we need to find the... I think this is the river split that we should... I think there was one river split earlier than that.
Impossible. I need mana.
It's going to be down there. I am blind. Alright, this is the Great Marsh. And we'll see if we're going to get any gloams here or not. Yeah, when it comes to the flares, we are going to be exposed to more types of them once we reach the Flare Jungle. Because aside from these green flares that appear here, that are mostly ranged attackers. We're also going to have blue flares that kind of swarm around you and are melee.
I am overburdened.
And our charge bolts, you know, are not the perfect type of skill to deal with the flares. It is going to get the job done, and it's, you know, it's decent enough. But here in Act 3, if you decided to respec into Nova earlier on, this is where Nova really starts to shine for two reasons. First of all, of course, all of these flares that are going to beautifully swarm all around us are just the perfect kind of enemy to deal with, like 1 or 2 casts of Nova. And also, because we get access to the better mana potions in Act 3, Nova is not so annoying to use anymore, because it is a very mana-intensive ability. 15,000, so we might hold on to it until later. But anyway, let's just finish one thought and then progress to others. I was just about to say that in Act 2, Nova is kind of cumbersome, kind of annoying, not very smooth to use because of how costly it is when it comes to its mana requirements. But in Act 3, once you gain access to the better mana potions, you have a little bit more mana just from levels and possibly some gear, and you have the perfect monsters to deal with, the flayers. Then Nova becomes much more fun to use in Act 3. However, our charge bolts are going to do well enough here. They're going to get the job done. Although, of course, the charge bolts don't pierce or anything, so dealing with hordes of these flayers is going to be a little bit more difficult, but soon enough we are going to get another skill to help us out. But anyway, let's talk to Cain now that we have acquired one of Khalim's relics.
Ah, Khalim's eye. Only it can reveal the true path to Mephisto. Place the eye in the Herodric cube along with Khalim's other relics. The heart, the brain, and the flail.
And identify some items for us. Cain, we're going to sell that staff later. And now let's check out the other items. I do want to care about the gold here in this act a little bit more, because those potions do cost quite a bit, and we're going to, of course, have a great need for them, as you've been able to undoubtedly notice so far. I have gone through these potions very quickly. And yeah, let us continue our search for the Great Marsh waypoint. There are some champions there that I would like to kill for some more experience along the way. Alright, come out of the swamp. And preferably don't be so annoying. Alright, there we go. Now we can just safely go back and progress to the Flayer jungle, as we were supposed to. Sometimes these pockets, can also have a second exit, creating kind of a shortcut, like as demonstrated there. But anyway, our next stop is going to be the Flayer jungle. And here we have the other type of Flayers, the Soul Killers. Let's just have a bigger group of them here to deal with. And yeah, as you can see, just as the Frost Nova nicely reaches all of them, so would the Lightning Nova to nicely deal damage to them. But as you can see, we're doing well enough with our charge bolts. Good, trusty charge bolts. And yeah, our fire resistance here, that's very welcome in Act 3 and Act 4. It's partially because of these shamans. Their Inferno, their fire breath, is very damaging if you kind of get closer to them. Like, as you can see, even with 75% fire resistance, I am kind of hesitant to come too close to them, not to be exposed to that attack. But yeah, there are also vampires that are going to show up later on, and also the council members are going to be spamming the Hydra spell, which by itself is not too dangerous, but they're going to cast a lot of them. And those projectiles coming from Hydra, can add up when it comes to their damage. Oh, we already have something. Also, I'm not picking up crystal swords, whether they are white or gray with some amount of sockets, or broadswords, because I know that they can't have the necessary amount of open sockets yet. They can't have 4 here because their item level is too low. Generally, when it comes to the amount of sockets that items have, there are 3 item level brackets that sometimes change the amount of the maximum open sockets that an item can spawn with. And those item level brackets are from 1 to 25, then from 26 to 40, and then from 41 upwards. And here these items are lower item level than 26, which is the amount needed for crystal swords and broadswords to spawn with 4 open sockets, which is the amount we need for our spirit rune word. That's why, I'm not even bothering to check or to pick up these crystal swords to use the socket quest on them later or something like that. They just are not good enough. Wanted that emerald. Anyway, in the Flare jungle, one of these pockets, alright, this one is going to be empty. It just contains nothing of interest. Another one is going to have the waypoint and a side dungeon called the Swampy Pit that we're going to visit on Nightmare. And the third one is going to kind of be a Flare village with the Gidbin bonfire and the Flare jungle that we're going to have to explore. So we're going to be on the lookout for that. And generally, also when it comes to these pockets, these side areas, you want to stick to the left side of the river. They usually spawn on that side. Yeah, here's another one. Another experience shrine, that's going to be nice. Unfortunately, this is the waypoint and the Swampy Pit area. Yeah, there it is. We're going to return to this dungeon on Nightmare. And now let's try to put this experience shrine to decent use, although because of the terrain, because of those ruined walls and whatnot, sometimes, you know, the flares don't have such an easy time swarming all around us. Yeah, we need a couple of juicy groups here. The experience must flow. There we go. This is what I've been looking for.
I can't carry anymore.
We've got a set item there.
Not enough mana.
Just can't have a moment of peace here. I think I'm gonna have to go back to town and get rid of, you know, replenish our potions, get rid of some of the things that are cluttering our inventory. Yeah, Ice and Hearts set, you know, one of the low-level ones. And this also sells well. We can also leave this staff to sell later, because of course 15,000 gold is the maximum we can get in normal Act 3, but you know, in later acts, of course, that amount raises, and we're going to be able to get more for that item. And of course, like I said earlier, I'm going to collect all of the unique and set items that we get. Even if they're not useful to us, they're just going to add or be added to our collection. Now here's just another connector, kind of to that pocket with the waypoint and the Swampy Pit. This, you know, entrance here is not a separate another side area, but just a different connector to the same one. And we're still kind of on the lookout for that Flare village. Alright, here we got another level, and now we're level 21, which is going to start our build-up for our next attack skill. And we might talk about it in a moment. I'll just get a moment of peace here. Alright, so now that we have a moment of peace, let us talk about our plans. So now that we're level 21, we're going to have to prepare for our next skill. And this is going to be Blizzard, available from level 21, but it has some prerequisite skills that we have to get. So at level 21 is going to be Ice Bolt, at 22 it's going to be Ice Blast, at 23 it's going to be Glacial Spike, and then at 24 we're going to be able to get Blizzard. And this is going to be our introduction to the Cold tree, I guess. This is going to, well, aside from Frost Nova's utility, but when it comes to damage, we are going to get a taste of cold spell damage by going into Blizzard in our build here. And then Charge Bolt is going to kind of still remain a nice spammable support secondary skill, but our primary skill that is going to help us immensely while going forward is going to be Blizzard, because I think I've mentioned already that Charge Bolt kind of loses its punch in Act 4 and Act 5, but Blizzard is going to do perfectly for us in that kind of situation. Once Charge Bolts kind of start slowing down when it comes to the kill speed, in comes Blizzard, and it is going to usher in a new phase when it comes to our damage abilities. And it's going to be really fun. I really like Blizzard. And of course, in our ultimate Meteor build, we are going to be using Frozen Orb, but in this build, we might as well get a little taste of Blizzard and have some fun with that skill for a while before we respec. Anyway, here's the bonfire for Gidbin. After a moment, after lighting it, there should be a special group of flares spawning in that are going to drop the dagger we're after. There they are. As you can see, also when it comes to the unique groups, the minions are kind of on a leash to their boss, so sometimes you can use that to your advantage, trying to kite them out and, you know, striking them on their way back to their master.
I must take this to Ormus.
Yeah, we are going to do that in just a moment. And here's the Flayer dungeon, one of the most dangerous places in the whole game on every difficulty, just because of the environment layout and the monsters that are in there. But anyway, let's give the Gidbin to Ormus so that he can strengthen the protective enchantment for the docks here.
You have done well, noble hero. Ormus congratulates you. The old spirits of Skatsim will watch over you for returning their sacred blade. Now, after all these years, Ormus will once again use his powers to protect the innocent from the shadow. The spell that protects the dark side shall now be reinforced.
And as a reward, we're going to get a rare ring. So let's see what you can give us, Ormus.
This magic ring does me no good. Here, wear it proudly.
And yeah, now he placed Gidbin here on this kind of pedestal place to strengthen that protection. And now, let's see. Moment of truth. Well, it could have been worse. Could have been worse. 5% lightning resistance. Wow, Ormus. So good. 9 MF. Might as well save it for our Magic Find set. But yeah, this I was hoping for something better, Ormus. You little bastard. Well, unfortunate. Unfortunate, but we must press on. Now with our replenished supplies, we have to go into the Flayer jungle. Like I said, this is a really dangerous area, so I'm going to try to go through it as quickly as possible. You generally have to go left in the first 2 levels of the Flayer jungle. And why it's so difficult, of course, besides the narrow corners and the ability to get easily surrounded and whatnot, this is also the place where the bone dolls, the bone fetishes, can first appear. And they are extremely dangerous, they do a lot of damage, and they also explode upon death. So you can just get destroyed very easily. But fortunately, the passage to level 2 is right there. And now when it comes to this level, trying to be kind of careful. Yeah, if we had some better mana potions and possibly a bigger mana pool, I think I would go and just chain teleport to try to find the exit, but since our situation here is not that great yet, I think I'm going to take it a little easy here. Fortunately, it seems like, alright, we got through there unscathed. And level 3, there are like 7 or 8 total layouts of this level, and back in the day I could recognize them to some extent, but I am nowhere near that state nowadays, so... Well, I think this one is where you have the chest in the middle, yeah. But there's also a super unique we need to defeat here, Witch Doctor Endugu, and I think in this layout he is in the top right. We're going to see about that. Of course, having teleport is a great help in these layouts. Alright, there we go. That's Witch Doctor Endugu is always fire enchanted, so I'm going to take special care to kind of get rid of him from a safe distance. And also, when it comes to these shamans, one thing that can easily get you in trouble is that you can very easily forget that after you kill the shaman, there's also the matter of that flare that kind of normally carries him. If you look closely, when you get the chance to observe the shamans, it's basically one flare carrying the shaman, kind of on his shoulders, I guess, above him. And after you kill, like a unique or a champion or whatever, but it's mostly, you know, dangerous when it comes to unique that are fire or cold enchanted. You know, that flare that also spawns after you kill the shaman himself also has all of those properties, and sometimes if you just instinctively kill them right away and, you know, they explode right near you, that can lead to a pretty annoying death, especially on Nightmare with that fire enchant bug. But anyway, now that we got another Khalim relic, Kane is going to have something to say about it.
This is most fortunate. Khalim's brain knows Mephisto's weakness. Place it in the Herodric Cube along with Khalim's other relics. The eye, the heart, and the flail. Good day.
Alright, will do, Kane. Yeah, that squishy brain. That's pretty funny. That you just, you know, have to hold on to such relics. Wow, we got some life charms, and even though, well, this one is 8, this is not too bad. This one is 6. I think I'm going to get rid of that one. That's a pretty low amount when it comes to charms. But yeah, 9 on a small charm is decent at this point. 18 on a grand charm is still decent enough. Oh, and 19 cold resist, huh? That is also something worth holding on to. Let's just switch these better potions like that. And now we should be good to go. I'm going to hold on to this cold resistance ring, and yeah, we have upgraded our life total a little bit. And now also, to finish the Gidbin quest, we also have to talk to Ashara, which would give us a free mercenary, or, you know, would basically allow us to get an Iron Wolf for free if we hadn't already had a mercenary of our own. Of course, we have our Act 2 mercenary, and we also got a free rogue from Act 1. But, you know, if you haven't gotten yourself a mercenary yet, you would now receive one for free.
Now that fewer of the Iron Wolves are needed to guard the dockside, some of them have volunteered to accompany you free of charge.
Yeah, nothing is going to happen for us, of course, because we can still resurrect Gulzar, our Act 2 mercenary. Anyway, now I think in this episode I would still like to... No, I'm not going to go here. I think we're going to go from the waypoint. I would like to reach Kurast proper, the town ruins. And we should be close to that. Yeah, this is the way. And at the gates to Kurast is going to be another super unique, Storm Tree, and he is always lightning enchanted, but I think we should be able to deal with him without too much trouble. I think we should be able to deal enough damage with our charge bolts. He is a big target and he is not that lightning resistant. So yeah, we are dealing some damage to him. Yeah, we're not going to need the services of our mercenary to deal physical damage to him. Even though it's slow, we're getting the job done here. Alright, there we go. Another super unique bites the dust.
I am overburdened.
And now we can go into Kurast. There are going to be 3 districts of Kurast: Lower Kurast, Kurast Bazaar, and Upper Kurast. And the Lower Kurast that we start out in, like each one of these districts is going to have a waypoint that I'm going to have to flag, of course. Lower Kurast is generally the prime place to farm for some runes and charms on Hell, because of the abundance of chests in here, especially in layouts such as this one. Like, if you can reset to get a good map, to have, you know, some blocks of the town, like this one, when you have the big bonfire and the 2 buildings at the sides, like between those 2 buildings, I think those are like 3 super chests in there in total. And in general, yeah, you have plenty of different containers to open up. So farming for higher level runes and charms, you know, that doesn't require any magic find or anything. You just kind of either run around as quickly as possible or teleport around, just opening all of the containers, and that's it. That's a decent way to farm those. But of course, this doesn't really matter all that much on normal, but on Nightmare and Hell, you can get some decent results with farming runs of that nature. I was keeping my distance there from that guy because he had the Holy Freeze aura active that would slow us down. Not a big deal, but I didn't want to get affected by that all the same. Now, where's that waypoint? I think I missed it right over there.
Not enough mana.
Alright, there we go. And now that we have braved our way through the jungles of Kurast and got into the city proper, I think this is going to be a good moment to finish the episode here. Let's just check out our spoils. Alright, nothing interesting, but yeah. I hope you enjoyed this episode. So far our adventure in Act 3 is going well. We have gone through some pretty dangerous places and, you know, appeared relatively unscathed. So, yeah, in the next episode, I think we're going to get a little bit into the topic of farming experience and, of course, doing the second part of Act 3 in general. So for now, I thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you in the next one.